Hello, fourth and fifth graders. We are continuing our book, Sheep by Valerie Hobbs. And last week we read about how the puppy got taken. All the other dogs got taken and dropped off at farms, and he was the only one that got taken to a pet store. And then he was bought by a little girl, Penelope, who dressed him up like a girl. And he's very sad because none of his brothers and sisters are by him. It's his first time alone, and he's not really sure what to do. So all by myself, nobody to cuddle with, no warm fur except for my own, a rubber bone to chew on. It was a sorrowful existence for a puppy. The glass box had been bad enough, but at least I had company. Sorry to say I wasn't very brave that first night. I whined and howled my head off, but nobody came, except for the cat. She cruised by a couple of times, waving the tip of her tail. No sympathy at all. But what can you expect from a cat? After breakfast, more pellets. I got ready to endure another day as baby, but to my relief, Penelope went off in a big yellow bus. Then the father drove away in his blue car, and mother took off in a red car with no roof, and I was left behind, imprisoned, held against my will, attached by a chain to a doghouse. I couldn't stay, of course. You knew that, right? And I knew Penelope would be sad to lose me. She'd never get that cat to play with baby, that's for sure. But I had to get out of there. Life in a pretty white house wasn't a life, at least not for a dog like me. But one last try. That night when the father came home from work, I tried my best to show him that I was what I was all about. I dodged and I feigned and I ran full speed around the yard, herding imaginary sheep, and stopped on a dime and switched directions. I even tried herding him, but he just didn't get it. He let me play for a while in the yard with Penelope. She couldn't throw a ball worth a darn, though my mom said lots of girls can. Then it was time for dinner. Penelope and Dad went inside. Me? I was supposed to entertain myself? Doing what? Chasing butterflies? It was a bad matchup, that's all. Me with them. They needed a sit around dog, a lie in your lap dog, not a sheep herder like me. It was easy getting out of there once I decided to go. The pointy sticks were no higher than my father's knee. One day when I was taken off my chain, instead of playing with Penelope, I just hopped over the sticks and took off. I didn't dare look back. I hated to see the kid cry. I don't know what I thought I was doing. I wasn't thinking, I guess. All I knew was that I'd had a purpose. Once, and I had a purpose, a reason for being alive. I'd found it running with the fellas, and if it took the rest of my life, I was going to find it again. So now he's off on his own. I ran. I ran forever, it seemed like, past houses like the one I'd just escaped. Dogs chained or fenced were barking and greeting, or in a warning. A porch light came on, and there was my shadow, racing just ahead of me. A man on the porch yelled, "Hey!" And I kept on running, away from all those big houses and clean streets into the darker end of that town, where my blackness would blend in. There was so much to sniff. I had to slow down. A cat, a rat, a paper that smelled like food. Dog was everywhere. I'd never been so excited or so scared. At last, I found a corner of a vacant lot to lie down on. My belly knotted with hunger. There I spent a fitful night, no dreams of home to ease my slumber. I'd drop off, then I'd wake up with a start, thinking I'd heard something. A big black truck with a rickety engine. Penelope calling, "Blackie, Blackie," and the click of a glass door shutting me in. Morning came and I hit the streets again, trying my best to look as if I had something to do and a place to go. I guess I thought if I went far enough, looked hard enough, after a while, a day or two maybe, I'd find Bob. He'd recognize me by my white spot on the tip of my tail, and he'd see right away that I didn't have a home. What could he do but take me back? The town was starting to wake itself up, shopkeepers sweeping their sidewalks, bread trucks and milk trucks and meat trucks passing like empty promises. To get my mind off food, I ran alongside a boy delivering newspapers until the boy got nosy. "Hey, you're a stray, aren't you?" He stopped his bike, but by the time he'd set that bike down, I was gone. It was a bacon morning. Out of every window, the delicious odor of pig meat was frying. I could hardly stand it. By the time I found breakfast, half a hamburger in a ripped over garbage can. I was so hungry I ate it, paper and all. I didn't tip the can, but by the way, I could still imagine the scolding I'd get from my mom if she had caught me. I didn't dare think of how life would be if I'd never seen my mom again. At every house, people were up and going places, getting into cars and going off with big, important things to do. Kids jumped in their bikes or climbed onto school buses, leaving the houses empty and quiet. Or a dog would stay behind to mind things. The cats didn't help. Cats have very little use for people, no matter how they might pretend otherwise. But dogs, they always watched people's every move, afraid they'd never come back. I made a few friends among the mixed breeds. One let me drink from her personal water bowl. I think she wanted me to stick around, but no way was I going to end up chained to a house again, not in this life. I slipped my way across town, then through a big, empty park, and at last ran smack into a highway, cars flying back and forth faster than old Dex on his best day. I was trying to decide which way to go when I caught the distant scent of something rank and woolly. I lifted my nose and sniffed again. Sheep? Was it sheep? The smell, terrible but wonderful for what it was promised, drifted toward me. My heart lifted, and I raced into the direction of the smell. Bob! It had to be Bob! And that's the end of that chapter. So do you think he's going to find Bob? I don't know. He kind of went far in a truck. It kind of makes you sad to think about this dog and how he feels about being somebody else, being owned by somebody else, and not being able to be with the sheep or his family. Kind of start thinking about how our animals feel with us, how long it takes them to be comfortable in a house and with people. Anyway, it is an interesting book. I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you hopefully at school. And if you're in the Purple group, if you would like to get a book, please email me at ghaws@solvingschool.org, and I can get the books for you, or you can make a time to set up to come get a book from me at the library. Thank you so much. Bye.